The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys? Yeah!
Go Cowboys!
Let's go, baby!
Are you ready for a break?
Yes.
Are you ready for a break?
Absolutely.
Ready for a break?
Yeah, and so much for that.
It's time for The Break on DallasCowboys.com.
We were on a break!
With Nick Eatman, Brian Broaddus, Ambar Garcia, and Derek Eagleton.
It is Monday, October 10th, 2022, Season 18, Episode number 47. Welcome to the latest edition of The Break. We are live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. We're presented by Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. And, man, this is just becoming a normal thing on Mondays. Cowboys win another game. They beat the Los Angeles Rams 22-10. They have now run the gauntlet on the two Super Bowl teams, beat both of them within a matter of 4 weeks. Yep. So doing really well. And we'll start where we start on typically on Mondays. What was the story of the game? Let's start with you, Nick.
The defense is just nasty. I mean, that's just what we wanted them to be all year. We thought they were going to be a team that the Cowboys could lean on, and we thought that it would be because Micah Parsons is a badass. And they're leaning on the defense. He's been a badass. They're actually scoring points, and yet they still refuse to give up more points than they did the week before, and that's 5 weeks in a row. It was awesome. I mean, there's a lot of other storylines there, but I'll just steal the easy one. I think Micah Parsons, and I wrote it. I think Micah Parsons is the best defensive player in football. Hey. I think the torch was passed on this day, and I think he's the best. Knock him off.
Although the other one was pretty doggone good.
Pretty damn good.
I'm about to say he's pretty good.
And he dominates that defensive line.
He does.
But this guy dominates the front seven, can play him anywhere on the front seven. I never saw Aaron Donald go up and guard Schultz, even though he probably could have.
I'm
Schultz's
guessing
knee.
he can do it every once in a
No,
while.
but I'm saying this guy is actually more versatile than Aaron Donald right now.
Amber, what you got?
Nobody can stop us.
Oh, gosh. Oh, gosh.
It's that week 6, Philadelphia Eagles. No.
This is way off the tracks now. Way off the tracks.
I'm just saying, like, yes, defense, it's so impressive what the score ends up being like. And you see the points that they have allowed. And, we sit here and we always give them credit to the defense, but when we're analyzing the next opponent, we talk about the run defense, and we talk about, people on social media want to point out the plays that Trayvon Diggs does give up and things like that. And I'm like, okay, what's the end result of what they're giving you? I'll take that all day long. So it's freaking great, because I haven't been here with the defense that plays the way that they're playing. We got a little taste of that last year. Well, a pretty decent taste last year, but the way they're playing this year and under another year with Dan Quinn and what he's doing with all their player. And again, it's the fact that it's not just one player. It's not one player. It's all of them making plays week after week. You get different guys standing out. So that's what's more impressive to me and more amazing and fun to watch all the time.
This team got 10 first downs for the day. They haven't won a game since, I think it was November 1st of 1970 was the last time they did that.
I wasn't alive.
Yeah, they only got that day.
Wow.
That day,
and you're old.
That day against the Philadelphia Eagles, they got only 10 first downs or less and won a game. That's the last time that has happened here. Your defensive lines are really, really good. I mean, the defensive analysis here is very good. This offense isn't turning over the football. And you would think with your backup quarterback that could be a problem. And they're really doing a very good job of not giving opponents the short fields and things like that with the turnovers. They realize, the offense realizes that they really are good defensively. They run the ball effectively. When we get to who's your player of the game, I got my guy in mind for the Cowboys, and it's not a defensive player. But they're doing a great job of just saying, you know what, we're good enough on special teams, we're good enough playing defense, and if we don't F it up on offense, we're going to be okay in these things. And that's how they've managed to do this. And to Kellen Moore, Mike McCarthy, Cooper Rush, Cooper Rush along the way made some really good throws and had some bad drops. If you go back and you look at the Lamb drop on third down, the Michael Gallup drop. I mean, he put the ball where it needed to be. But this guy is refusing, even when he gets sacked or gets hit, he's holding on to the ball. He's not forcing it into some spots. And that's where I think that this team is benefiting the most. That now there's going to come a point in time where you're going to have to move the ball, and you're going to have to be able to sustain drives, because your guys are starting to get nicked up a little bit. Your best players starting to get nicked up. And, so to put it all on them, I don't think you could do that right now. But, man, this offense is doing a good job of protecting that football.
Let's talk about Cooper Rush. He was 10 of 16, 62% completion rate, 102 yards passing. Not a great day if you look at just the raw numbers of that. He had he was sacked 3 times, had an 80.7 rating. Overall, Brian, you gave us your opinion.
Yeah.
Amber and Nick, I'd love to hear from you. What was your assessment of Cooper Rush and what he was able to do yesterday?
He doesn't F it up. I mean, that's what it is. That's what Brian is saying. I mean, he didn't do a lot. He didn't have to do a lot. And that's the key. I mean, and that's the argument that, Dak can do this and all that. And of course, Dak can do this. That's what he can easily go out and run an offense like that. I thought Rush played a lot better than his stats show.
Yeah.
You're right about those throws. In the second half. Now, but I will say this: the offensive line, they did their job. They really did. It was tough sledding out there, but man, for them to keep running it the way they did and protected him, you're dealing with a guy in Aaron Donald who moves all around, but I thought all of them had moments of playing really well, and like Brian said about Rush, he doesn't fumble, he doesn't throw the picks. He tries sometimes to throw that interception ball, just nobody wants it. But
he's had some of those in almost every game where it just doesn't happen to end up.
First half, I didn't think it was as good. He missed some throws there. Second half, though, everything was pretty much on the money. That ball to Gallup down the sideline, I mean, that was a beautiful throw. Now, of course, the catch was amazing. But he throws the ball really well down. I just thought, they're not asking him to do a lot. You don't have to do a lot, and he's doing just enough.
Yeah, he's doing a great job so far as a backup quarterback. And, there's a reason why he's a backup quarterback. Mm-hmm. So he's doing what you need him to do to kind of keep this team afloat and the offense moving. But I'm at the point where now I'm like, okay, I'm ready to see Dak back in the team. I'm ready to see what he can do with this offense, get more points, because we're at that spot where, okay, yes, great for the defense to be playing the way that they are, but now we need the offense to do a little something more for the defense. So I'm ready. I'm past the whole thought. I was kind of entertaining in my head Nick's thought a few weeks ago of like, I'm sticking with the guy who's winning. Well, now I'm past that and I'm ready to see.
Is that the way he says it?
Yeah, this sounds like, kind of like that. But yes, I'm ready to have Dak back on this because it makes me wonder, okay, how much more can they score? And we know Dak, I don't think his level of playing is completely... I don't think that game was a good reflection of what he really is, the first game of the season. So I can't wait to see him back, and I'm wondering when that's gonna be. If we'll see if he has a full practice this week, but I would imagine we're kind of getting to that point where he's gonna be back into action.
Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
No, I think Ambar and Nick both are right about that. The thing with Dak in this week will be, I think if Dak had thrown the ball last week, or we'd heard about, practices. You guys live in this building. You live with the players. You understand all this. You start to hear whispers. I had a good week throwing the ball. Somebody will walk up to you. That just hasn't been the case. The fact that he has another visit with the doctor on a Tuesday and not on a Monday, kind of because maybe it's an off day and stuff like that. I think we're probably another week away. I just haven't heard that for sure, but I wasn't hearing anything like, man, last week he threw the ball. Well, I think he's going to need more than just the normal practices this week in order to get ready for this game.
Yeah, and I think that's the part that if you look at what Cooper Rush did this last game, I'm not sure that will be enough against Philadelphia because I think Philadelphia has a better – I don't think their receivers are better than that receiver that you saw yesterday. But I think as an offense, I think they're a better offense. And I do think this will be a game where you may need a little bit more than what you were able to get yesterday. And I'm a little concerned about that part of whether Cooper can really step up this offense, get this offense to operate a little bit better. Like the running game was good, but you need the passing game to give you some of that too when you're playing a better offense that also has a good defense, by the way.
What's the highest? I'm trying to think how many touchdowns we've scored. Like, what has been the most in one game? Not field goals or anything. Two touchdowns. And that was
Two against the Bengals and 2 against the Giants.
The highest points they've had offensively have been 25 in a game, right? So, that would be. I know Dak's average was higher than that for sure. Now, part of that was you got to. And I don't know if you want to take stuff out, but you want to start looking at it. You can make the argument that some of those games against the NFC East, particularly that last game where they scored just 51 points.
They caught the Commanders for 50, and they caught the Eagles.
And
for
the
50.
Eagles didn't play most of their guys for that game. So that kind of game, like if you want to take that out, you can. But fact of the matter is, Dak throughout his career and certainly last year was averaging more than what they're averaging right now offensively as far as points. I do believe their offense gets better with Dak.
Yeah.
And so that being said, like it's just a matter of you're doing what you need to do. I think you put it perfectly, Amber. He, as a backup quarterback, he's doing what a backup quarterback should do. A really good backup quarterback should be able to find a way to just give you enough so you don't lose in those games where you're just trying to maintain without your starter. And I think that's what he's doing right now.
Yeah, I thought one thing that really helped them was on first down, the Cowboys did a nice job running the football. And I just looked this up. They averaged 7.8 yards a pop on first down running the ball.
That's big.
Yeah, now they had a big run in there, but with Pollard. But that was and that play was absolutely well blocked.
Yeah.
I mean, by everybody. Everybody across the line did a good job.
Down the field too.
Down the field. Yeah, I mean Hendershot and Fehoko down there blocking. And that's another thing. When Fajoko's in the game, like it's probably going to be a run. I mean, that's what they typically show.
He's taking over the Noah Brown role.
Right. Like, here
so
comes
maybe
the run.
5 years from now he will be actually pretty good.
Yeah.
This, we talked about it last week on the show. The way to attack this Ram defense was to run the football at them. They want to get upfield and all that. And I think the Cowboys did a good job overall of getting hat on hat and then making some very physical runs in this game.
So let's talk about that running game a little bit more. Zeke was 22 carries for 78 yards, a 3.5 average. At one point, it seemed like he was, every time he touched the ball, it's 5 yards. It just seemed like he was just bulldozing his way to 5 yards. Pollard had 8 for 86, 10.8 average with the big 57-yard TD. He is the home run hitter and very, very adept at that role for this team. That all being said, with a great defense and efficient running game, do you think Dallas really can match up with any team in the NFL?
Matchup.
Yeah.
Yeah, because what they can do is if they can get you in a situation where you say you have a negative play, and you're at 2nd and 12 or you're at 2nd and 10, because they can now teams. Not all teams are willing to run the ball on 2nd and 10, because Dallas is going to get you in that situation and they're going to come after you. So yeah, they could play against anybody by if they keep you. I was worried about this game where the Rams would stay ahead of the chains, because they don't get penalized. And then you had a crew, Bill Vinovich's crew doesn't call a lot of penalties. So I was thinking, okay, how do you get the Rams into some negative yardage situations? And the Cowboys did a great job of choking the run. They had some tackles for losses and stuff like that. So yeah, as long as the running game doesn't have an effect in a positive way, Dallas could beat anybody in this league.
And I'm coming to the realization of okay, we don't need splashy, flashy plays from the running game all the time. Kind of how, back to when Zeke got here, I think I still have that in my head of okay, this running game can possibly look like that again. But take out Tony Pollard's run, the long one for the touchdown. The running game, it's okay, it can work. The way it went down, them running the ball in that way, not necessarily us, or I should speak for myself, but me expecting, okay, when is it going to happen that Zeke is going to have that flashy play where you keep expecting them to run for over 5 more yards if that's the average, And it's like, okay, this can work, and it can create that balance that we keep talking about between the running game and the passing game. So I think I'm at that point where I'm like, okay, this running game can be effective with Zeke and Tony Pollard. Obviously, Tony Pollard kind of gives you more speed in that way of him being able to escape. But for him to do that, you also need a guy like Zeke doing what he's doing as well. So it's just bearing the thought of like my expectations and realizing that this is okay enough. And you add a pretty nice passing game with Dak Prescott coming back, expecting that. I think it can work really well balanced out that way.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have to remember too, when you get Dak back, whatever point that comes, hopefully you still got Michael Gallup in the lineup. And as we saw yesterday, he is a big play type receiver that they didn't have the benefit of in week 1. You add him to CD Lamb, you got Noah Brown kind of adding a little bit into that mix. I think you got a good enough wide receiver crew to where you can, if you're just averaging, let's say you're averaging 20 points without Dak, I think you can push that average up to about a touchdown more with Dak and these receivers that he didn't have on week 1. So
the last 2 weeks, Dalton Schultz hadn't been a factor either.
Exactly. So I think there's plenty of reason to believe this offense will be much more effective and efficient in the passing game once Dak is back. All right, we're going to take our first break. When we come back, I want to talk about the offensive line, particularly Tyler Smith. He has had a phenomenal start to his rookie year. Yesterday, he got a welcome to the NFL moment, or a few of those moments. We'll talk about that when we come back. This is DallasCowboys.com radio.
The season is finally here. For months, we've been gearing up to win. Now it's time for the team that performs on any field, United Ag and Turf. With John Deere Zero Turns for mowing, compact tractors for loading, mini excavators for digging, Gator utility vehicles for hauling, implements for grading, hay tools for baling. United Ag and Turf, for winning. The official Ag and Turf equipment supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com for more.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
This sweet! Did you get to work on time?
Yeah, but I just realized it's Sunday.
Little Sweet says head on home. Dr. Pepper's on its way. So sweet, unique. Baby, there's nothing better. I bet you've probably done something that deserves a Dr. Pepper. Did you invest your nest egg in an NFT?
Yeah, and I don't even know what that is.
It's a non-fungible token. Everyone's done something that deserves a Dr. Pepper.
When you build, you start with the foundation. And home ownership is a foundation of a stable future. The Bank of America Community Home Ownership Commitment has helped over 34,000 people lay the groundwork so far, with up to $10,000 towards your down payment or 3% of the purchase price, whichever is less. The satisfaction of owning your own place can become a reality. Visit bankofamerica.com/homeowner to learn more. What would you like the power to do? Bank of America N.A. Equal Housing Lender. Credit and collateral is subject to approval. Restrictions apply. This is not a commitment to lend.
Back to the break.
Book an appointment at your local Essilor experts. Find the perfect Essilor lens for you. See more, do more. Essilor.
Welcome back. Second segment of the break, live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios. At the start of the segment, brought to you by blockchain.com. Let's talk about Tyler Smith. As I said before the break, he's really had, I think, one of the best opening quarters of the season of anybody on the team. He's been really impressive, especially when you put it in the context of he is a rookie making his first start and didn't even do this, playing left tackle, most of the time that he's been with the Cowboys during the offseason. That being said, yesterday he faces what Nick thinks is the second best defensive player in the league in Aaron Donald. And you're going to stick with that. And Aaron Donald.
I don't cover the Rams. And I don't have to go in the locker room, the Rams locker room.
But you talked to Tyler Smith after the game. What was his demeanor? Because it was a game where, I mean, he had two situations where he kind of let Donald by. Donald forced a fumble. He had 2 holding calls, I think it was, against Donald. It was a tough day for him. What was his demeanor like after the game?
A guy that just went, got a lesson, but he understood it, and I think he's excited about learning from it. I think it's going to be really good because mentally he doesn't get down on himself, and he takes coaching. The guy that coached him the most yesterday was Jason Peters. Jason Peters off to the side helped him. Of course, he's got a rib injury. We'll see how long that's going to be. But I thought he understood what he was doing wrong. He had a guy he could kind of lean on the sideline, came back. I thought he cleaned it up a little bit. And let's not forget, I put this as one of my 5 plays, gives up a sack, gets a holding penalty, which he obviously wasn't holding very well because his guy got a sack. Quarterback fumbles. He recovers that fumble. That could have been a huge, huge change there for the Rams. So I thought that was big.
Yeah, when we were talking to him last night, he said, the least I could do in that situation was get the ball.
At least I got the ball.
Said, I saw the ball. He's like, at least I could get the ball. And you're right. I love his demeanor, the way he approaches it. Like, there are a lot of guys that can get really down on themselves. And it's easy when you got everybody telling you, how bad you did. And you saw how bad you did. Like, you can get down on yourself. But it sounded to me like he's the kind of guy that has the right kind of mentality.
Yeah, and he can watch the All-22, and he probably did on the way home, and he could watch an All-Pro Hall of Fame right guard have struggles with him too.
Yeah.
It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy for Zach Martin in that game. The guy that played him the absolute best was Connor McGovern.
Yep.
Connor McGovern, it's crazy to say that a guy that's not really the best athlete, but kind of a mauler, brawler kind of guy, gives him the most problems. And that's the thing about it was there were a couple of times the long run we mentioned the scoop blocks were really, really good. But when it came down to just him having to deal with Donald's quickness, he kind of powered him, and then it got him kind of off balance. But you watch, like I say, it wasn't, I felt like that Tyler Smith got better as the game went on when that matchup kind of came his way. It's the first two, it was like the very first snap he had against him was the, oh, damn moment. That was.
Oh, he's as good as everybody
And then the
said,
second one was another, oh, damn moment. Yeah. But after that, it was kind of like, oh, okay. But you can watch Aaron Donald walk Zach Martin back into Cooper Rush
first throw,
as he's trying to throw the ball over to CeeDee Lamb, and it's short hops.
That was his first pass, wasn't it?
Yeah. You could see Martin. You could see Martin really struggling to even sit down on him, and Connor McGovern was kind of fighting him and knocking him around a little bit. And I thought that if you ask me for, you're going to say player of the game, Parsons, and this and that. Give me what Connor McGovern was able to do against a guy that is just an absolute pain in the ass to deal with on that inside rush.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. And going back to Tyler Smith, I remember when those couple of plays happened, I was in the press box being like, okay, well, there we go. Donald found his spot, and he's going to go at him every snap. And it didn't really go down that way.
Didn't materialize that way. They kept consistent with how they move him. And they started the game. The first 5 or 6 snaps were against Zach Martin.
Yeah.
And then finally they moved him over, and then they started playing him on the shoulder of Connor McGovern, and Connor McGovern's eyes got really, really big, and then he was battling him over there. But when they had to run the ball, and it was those two guys handling those guys over there, they were up to the task. Those first 2 snaps for Tyler Smith were like, oh, geez, my life is about to become a living hell. And they moved him away, and he kind of like, okay, I can catch a break now, catch a breath here.
Well, when I talked to Zach after the game, he mentioned that. He said they do a good job of moving Donald around, but they don't want to keep him on the outside. And I even tweeted that, too, because I said, well, they use that to your advantage. If you're going to just go up against Tyler Smith all day on the left side, then we're just going to run over here. We're just going to run. I mean, and you can't have your best player always on the side. That's why Micah Parsons moves around like that too. And so, I thought that was bad for Tyler for a little bit, but he did settle down, and then the other guys got hat on him too.
Yeah, everybody did a good job. When those first 2 were just. Yeah, you close your eyes, and when you go back, and maybe 5-6 years from now, Tyler Smith will go, "Hey, what was it like to play against Aaron Donald?" Oh, let me tell you, man. And then he'll have that moment where he can recall. But he once those 2 plays went away, they did a much better job of dealing with him.
I bet you Larry Allen won more battles against Reggie White in his career, but I can promise you his rookie year, Reggie White threw him.
The hump move.
Yeah, he threw him like 10, 15 yards this way. Larry probably won a lot more as the time went on, but you know, you have your moments like that.
It's funny you say that. The guy that gave gave Reggie White the most problems was Eric Williams, who's a mauler brawler type of a guy,
bouncer,
just a tough guy, hitch in the throat, poke you in the eye. Hitch in the lower area, you know, that kind of guy.
Yeah, you look at
in the groin.
Yeah,
you look at Tyron
Another
Smith
injury, right?
during his rookie year. You remember how DeMarcus was kind of treating him like that, and it was, you know, that's just the nature of it. When you're young and you're coming in, you have to deal with some of these guys that are vets and heading toward the Hall of Fame. Like, it's going to be a challenge.
D-Ware and Tyron.
That's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
That's what
I
say Tyler. I said Tyron.
Okay.
I was meaning Tyron.
Okay, well, in my mind, I was thinking, too, of Tyron and Tank.
Yeah.
Because then, you know, he threw Tank around and broke his foot for 10 weeks.
Yeah,
you
and
know?
that's just the nature of it. You coming in the league, you got to deal with these vets. Like, you find out this is a grown man league. These are grown men that have been doing this and know how to do it really well, and you got to catch up to it. And that's why I think the demeanor is so important. And that's why I ask you that question, because how Tyler's demeanor will dictate probably how successful he can be when you have to face those kind of moments and how you rebound from those. I want to stick with. Go ahead.
I was gonna say again, this is another week that of another example of the players that we talk about that are very, very talented around the NFL. That at the end of the game, like, they didn't completely dominate you or kill you. So
you live to talk about it.
Yes,
you didn't have to drop back, you know, save the equipment, dig a ditch. You know, you didn't have to do that.
You managed.
You actually
survived.
You walk off. But you're thinking, I never want to play against that guy again.
Right.
But you live to tell about
at
it.
least you're walking on your own two legs on your way to the buses and everything. So it's
grab
just,
your sandwich, get on the bus, and go for it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's still impressive that they just haven't killed them completely.
I do want to stick with the offensive line and talk about somebody we haven't talked about in weeks, and that's probably a good thing. But what did you guys think of Terrence Steele's play? Because I just, honestly, I'm not noticing him, which is a great thing for a tackle if you're not really noticing him.
I am the folk on the panel here that probably has the biggest problem with him. And I think he's a much better run blocker than he's a pass blocker, because there's things that happen to him too. His technique gets broken down as well. But when you watch him the last several weeks, he has not been the reason why you've struggled in pass protection or in run blocking. I mean, he's done a really good job, and I kind of felt like that with Cooper Rush playing quarterback, the little bit of lack of mobility, that there would be more issues there, that he would get driven back. He's played with a little bit more power than I thought he could play with, and so when he run blocks, he's really good when the ball goes away. And he's athletic enough to make that cutoff or the reach block on the outside. These young tight ends are helping him too with some of the blocks at the point of attack. So, yeah, I can't complain about him. I wasn't concerned about left guard or left tackle. I was concerned about the right tackle. But he's playing a lot better than I believed he could. So good for him, and give Joe Philbin credit for getting that done.
Yeah, you're not gonna penalty calls. You're not. He's not really allowing sacks. So to your point, Derek, is one of those that you don't really notice, but then that's a good. That's a good thing. Like, no problem. Keep doing you, and as long as we don't keep seeing his name being called on a penalty hole or something like that, then keep at it.
Yeah, it's interesting because you look at this at what Philbin has done since he got here, and I know he's taken some criticism at times, but man, he has developed some guys that on a lot of teams probably are guys that run in the door. You keep them for a couple of years, and you eventually let them go. And you think about Terrence Steele now starting, McGovern now starting. As you said, like, McGovern's getting to the point where he's getting really good at guard. He held off Tyler Smith throughout the entire camp, and he's getting to a point where I think he is making a case, whether it's going to be here or somewhere else, he's going to be a starter in this league at guard.
Yeah, it wasn't pretty for him against the Commanders, but it wasn't pretty for many of those guys inside against that crew.
Yeah. And they'll have a chance this week. They played some pretty good guys.
Exactly, and that's the thing about it is sometimes those mauler, brawler guys, it just takes them a little bit of time to kind of get back in the flow of being that type of a mauler, brawler guy.
Yeah. All right, we're going to take our final break, come back. We're going to flip over to the defensive side of the ball. Man, there's so much to talk about there. We'll do that when we come right back. DallasCowboys.com radio.
The season is finally here. For months, we've been gearing up to win. Now it's time for the team that performs on any field, United Ag and Turf. With John Deere zero turns for mowing, compact tractors for loading, mini excavators for digging, Gator utility vehicles for hauling, implements for grading, hay tools for baling. United Ag and Turf, for winning. The official Ag and Turf equipment supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com for more.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
This sweet! Did you get to work on time?
Yeah, but I just realized it's Sunday.
Little Sweet says head on home. Dr. Pepper's on its way. So sweet, unique. Baby, there's nothing better. I bet you've probably done something that deserves a Dr. Pepper. Did you invest your nest egg in an NFT?
Yeah, and I don't even know what that is.
It's a non-fungible token. Everyone's done something that deserves a Dr. Pepper.
When you build, you start with the foundation. And home ownership is a foundation of a stable future. The Bank of America Community Home Ownership Commitment has helped over 34,000 people lay the groundwork so far, with up to $10,000 towards your down payment or 3% of the purchase price, whichever is less. The satisfaction of owning your own place can become a reality. Visit bankofamerica.com/homeowner to learn more. What would you like the power to do? Bank of America N.A. Equal Housing Lender. Credit and collateral is subject to approval. Restrictions apply. This is not a commitment to lend.
Back to the break.
Limited tickets for the remaining home games of the 2022 Dallas Cowboys season at AT&T Stadium are available now. Visit DallasCowboys.com/tickets or SeatGeek.com, the official ticketing provider of AT&T Stadium.
Final segment of the break, live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. Thank you guys for joining us. And now it's time to talk about the defense. This defense is remarkable. Check out some of the numbers from yesterday. Here's the most important part to me. They stopped the run, which they had not been doing in a lot of their games earlier this season. They only allowed 38 yards on 15 attempts, a 2.5 average. I do think the Rams probably gave up on their run a little bit early. I probably would have stuck with it a little bit more, see if I could pop one, but they did not. And so credit the Cowboys defense. They only allowed 10 points. This is the first time since 1972 that the Cowboys have allowed under 20 points in the first 5 games of the season. That goes back to my birth year that they have done that. That is amazing. This defense is doing some really remarkable things. 5 sacks, 11 quarterback hits. They had 3 turnovers yesterday, which is something that hadn't really been a part of their game this year. Last year was a big part of their defense. Wasn't something you would think is sustainable year over year, and they're doing it a different way this year. But yesterday they did get those turnovers. That all being said, talk to me about some of the standout players yesterday. Who stood out most to you yesterday on the defensive side of the ball? And there are a lot of answers to this.
You know, I wanted to mention Dorrance Armstrong. I think the job that he's doing and what he's doing with all the opportunities that he's been given since Randy Gregory's departure has been incredible. Bye.
Bye.
But yeah, he's a guy that, you know, when he came in, he showed some talent initially when he first got here. And I remember DeMarcus Lawrence, he actually kind of took him under his wing and was kind of mentoring him along the way. And there was a point there where I was just like, I wonder what DeMarcus sees in him, because I respect DeMarcus a lot. And at that point, DeMarcus was pretty hot in his game. So I knew there was a reason, because nobody just randomly takes you under your wing if they don't see something in you. So, again, I love the fact that the Cowboys have stuck with him, and because I think he's a guy that could have easily been gone already, and he hasn't, and he's taken advantage. So it's just impressive what he's doing on the defense and what he's doing on special teams. It's incredible. So I applaud him, and I think he's doing an amazing job.
Yeah, for me, the guy, I mean, other than, of course, Micah, but the guy that I thought played a great game, maybe the best of his career, was Osa Odigizua. I thought he was, you know, he was a UCLA guy, so he's playing back home again, or at least college area. And he was a menace in the backfield. I mean, he had 4 quarterback hits and a couple tackles for loss and a sack.
Led the team in pressures. I think with 7. Yeah.
So good job for Osa Odighizuwa.
I always got to say it that way so you know how to spell it.
I know how to spell it.
Yeah, I gotta learn how to spell it.
Odighizuwa.
Yeah.
You got that right. This was a really, really good game for Sam Williams.
Yeah, it was.
Mm-hmm.
And Sam Williams was thrown into action extensively when Micah started getting hurt, when Micah was starting to come up a little bit limpy. And so that in itself, you had to have somebody that was going to pick up the rush, work on the twists, do those types of things. You got to have somebody. Micah's this guy that's always attacking. Sam Williams took it upon himself to be the attacker. He went after it and in this game. And I was impressed by the way that he was able to play and how physical. And they stand him up. Micah stands up and rushes. Sometimes Sam puts his hand down, but this time they took Sam and stood him up and played him in that role. And he really did a nice job doing that. I'm going to give you another guy, too, when you get to watch the All-22, and he's not going to show up on the stat sheet. Carlos Watkins played a really, really good football game for you there, too. And he was one of those guys they elevated off the practice squad, and he went in there at defensive tackle. And I'll tell you what, he was, when it came to defending the run, when it came to some of the pressure that he was able to get, the push they were able to get in the pocket, the twist game stuff he was really, really good at. Again, he's not going to show up in your box score. But when you watch the tape, it's very much that there he is. There he is again, trying to tip balls, going up, helping, taking blockers with him so the linebackers can flow and go get the ball. I mean, him and Sam Williams were the two guys that really, to me, kind of jumped out. That's like, oh, okay. And this is why they're winning these games with defense. Because it's not all about Parsons and Diggs and Van Der Esch and these guys. It's guys that are filling in that are having to play because Quentin Bohanna is not active. That's what this team has done. It's taken backup players and finding ways to win football games.
Talk to me about.
Can I add something real quick, Brian? When you mentioned Sam Williams, and something that I feel like I've noticed, and we've talked about him being his game being a little too reckless at times and him needing to clean. I feel that this past couple of games, especially this last one, that's something that I've seen incredible growth and improvement in. I don't know if there's something specific that you were able to see from him and his game in the way that he's quickly been able to kind of show some growth in that aspect of things.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where the coaches probably got with him and said, we're not going to play if we can't trust you. You can't get stupid penalties. You can't get roughing the passer or personal foul or lining up off sides or anything like that. If you want to play, you've got to do it the way we're going to teach you. Yesterday, they threw him again in the deep end of the pool and said, go swim. You're either going to drown or swim. And, that's just the trust. When you know how it is when people trust you to do the job, you do a better job of it. When you don't feel that way, when you don't feel like that, they don't care, and then you're sloppy with the way you perform. I think he was sloppy. I think there was things at Mississippi that he was just such a naturally good player that they just kind of let it go. Here you got to play within the scheme. You can't get stupid penalties, and if we ask you to rush the passer or run on the pick, you got to set the pick and get somebody else home. And I think that's where he's kind of learning along the way is that watching these guys play. Watch DeMarcus Lawrence in your All-22 on the tackle he makes on the third down, and I think it's 3rd and 18, and they throw the ball on a screen, and he comes all the way from the defensive end spot all the way to make the tackle when it's close. It's going to be if he didn't make the tackle, it's a first down. But he runs basically 15 yards to make the tackle. That shows up on film. So if you're Sam Williams, you're like going, God dang, look what Tank did there.
And he had a play like that too, where he rushed the passer and
then went back
came
outside.
back and did a nice job that way. So I mean, and also he's just a few inches away from probably making this game an absolute blowout. Now this was one-sided, I thought, for the most part, but give the Rams credit for. I mean, that was a risky move on a fake punt down there like that. They're down 19-10 or 16-10. And Sam Williams saw it and just
tried to peel back.
Just didn't get his hand up. And if he would have moved it over and bats it down, then they get the ball at the 25-yard line, maybe another field goal going in, to the locker room. And then I think the game would have been an absolute blowout. So my guy Joe DeCamillis, I saw him before the game, and he said, "Man, we're struggling."
Joe S. the Ragman?
No, we talked about it. Yeah, we talked about that, and a JFA, was messing around.
Joe had the best.
He would, he wouldn't never be able to teach Sunday school, but
That's a good way to put it.
But no, he's not ever going to change. But he's one of my favorite people ever in the NFL. Just a real good dude, and still doing it, man. Still doing it for the Rams.
I remember when I was working in the league that Joe, when he was with the Broncos, and then he was with the Giants and the Falcons and stuff. But he had one of the longest reels of fake trick plays.
Yeah.
He had all the trick plays. So if you wanted to ever study, hey, what are teams doing trick? Just go get Joe DeCamillis's trick plays, and you could pick up them. You could get them all.
Yeah.
I mean, he's that kind of guy.
Talk to me about Trayvon Diggs, because yesterday, of the 10 points, he was involved in both of those two scoring drives, gave up the one long touchdown to Cooper Kupp, and then gave up the big play to Atwell that got them into field goal range.
I thought he played a really good game, honestly. Go back and look at it. You can. This is a glass half full or empty type of situation. He gave up all of your points. He is the reason that you gave up 10 points. He's the reason you gave up 10 points.
Yeah.
So which way is it? I mean, I thought going up against Cooper Kupp, the guy makes a great catch. Great catch.
By the way, that's Cooper Kupp.
Yeah. And
in my opinion, the best receiver in the league, maybe top 3, but definitely up there.
I thought he probably thought there was going to be some safety help on that deep throw.
Yeah.
He's still there. I mean,
But it's not like one of those situations what we've seen in the past with other players that it's like, dude, what are you doing there? Like, the ball is over there. Like in all those plays, Trayvon Diggs is like right there. So it's not like he's all the way on the other side figuring out where I'm at.
No offense, but it's not a Cheeto thing, because Cheeto was always there and they were always catching it. Like he knocks it down. He's got 10 PBUs,
more than the Packers
as a team.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he leads the NFL in PBUs.
Yeah.
So he's there.
Yeah. He has, I think it's 90, but he leads the league.
He tackled okay yesterday.
He did in space. He was really good. Hooker turned the wrong way on the Atwell ball. Hooker's reading it, and they're going to get a crosser, and he turns, and then he turns back the other way, which slowed him down. But perfect ball. I mean, seriously.
That was a good throw.
It was a great throw to make the play. On the Cooper Kupp one, they're playing what they call man free. So everybody's underneath has got it. And again, all of a sudden now you got guys that are getting blocked because you got all these guys running routes that are playing man coverage. Free safety, again, really no help with the tackle.
And let's also be clear, too. One of the hardest things to do as a cornerback in the NFL
carry routes.
Carry a crossing route from a receiver that can really run.
Yeah.
Like Cooper Kupp running across the middle and you're in man coverage. That is a hard thing to do.
So they give up the touchdown to Cooper Kupp, 9:33 to go in the second quarter. Yeah. Don't score another point the rest of the day. They get inside the Cowboys field position, on their side of the 50 4 times and never score. That is amazing.
Bad punt. Another bad punt.
Anger.
Well, we're gonna talk about that because I want to talk about all the special teams, because yesterday there were lots of special teams issues. So we're going to talk about that tomorrow. I think that's a much bigger.
Careful, they blocked a punt.
They did, and that's
it was
also
set up well too.
That's also where you want to put it in context. But there are some little things that you saw yesterday that could be like. That'll be the question for you guys: is how concerned are you with those things you saw?
I'll say this though too.
Good one.
I don't know the other guys around the league, all that. I don't know everyone's gunner depth chart, but I guarantee there's not 2 better ones on the team than what the Cowboys have right now.
We're gonna talk about the way that they lined those guys up yesterday too.
Man, I'm about ready to. I'm about ready to replace one of them.
CJ?
Yeah.
Why?
Man, I don't think the guy's got the awareness. He went right by that guy.
Oh, that punt. Well, I don't think he's thinking that my Pro Bowl punter is going to shank it 22 yards.
Yeah, I don't think
there's no way.
He didn't think the ball was going to be where it was.
He told me
He
told me that the guy before the play before set him up because before the guy faked it out like it was coming up and the ball rolled into the end zone. Yeah. So he was thinking that was what was happening. But in reality,
but you also don't think your punter's going to punt it like that. Like that was
Kelvin Joseph doing a nice job for you though.
He really is.
All right, we're gonna end the show on that, but tomorrow we are gonna pick that up. I have lots of questions for you guys on this special teams. We'll be back tomorrow. Until then, for Nick Eben, Brian Broaddus, and Amber Garcia, I'm Derek Eagleton. This has been The Break, live on DallasCowboys.com radio.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!